Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Quiz. Today we are at the next example, that is the game study we are doing. We are going to look at a game related to Gambit play and we will see some positional factors here like bishop pair, e4, d5, e takes d5. Here nf6 is one of the ways to go for the Gambit. In this game black played c6, so called the center counter Gambit. D takes c6, knight c6. We see that black has some open lines for bishop, queen and the knight controls d4 and the e5 squares. As we can see, white is not much behind in development. Frankly speaking, black shouldn't have much compensation for the pawn. White went with one of the most obvious moves here, which may not be best. b5, pinning the knight, and as we know, the side who is up in material wants to trade pieces. So white wants to take on c6. Black instantly plays e5, taking control of the center. He cannot stop bc6 anyways. White should play nc3, d3, followed by developing this bishop and the knight on g1, not taking on c6 instantly because he should wait for black to spend a tempo either by a6 or bishop d7. Here white took bishop c6, pawn takes c6, and we see that black's pawn on c6 has become isolated, which is what white was counting on. A typical amateur mistake. Here the isolation of c6 pawn has nothing to do with the position. Black gets nice open file for his a8 rook. We see that the bishop can go to a6 in many cases. White has simply surrendered the center and the bishop pair, we can say. c3, nf6, d3, bishop b4. Black is developing his pieces smoothly and is looking to use his bishop pair and center control. At this point, I must tell you that white's position is not at all worse. Nothing serious has happened because mainly his pawn structure is intact and white's position is very solid. There are no weaknesses in the position. White could have just gone with the move like knight e2 over here. Do note that now move like nf3 would fail to e4, which would hand over strong initiative to black. After d takes c4, queen takes d1 check, king takes d1, bishop c3, bc. Black is spreading the pieces well, but he is looking for an initiative now. Knight e4, attacking f2 and c3 both. Rook e1 almost forced, and now comes the good move bishop f5. If knight d4, attacking the bishop and the c6 pawn, black has the strong move long castle. See how swiftly black pieces got developed, and he is already threatening nc3, nf2 and c5. So we can say that this position is already somewhat better for black. So such can be the transformation in the game if white is careless. White went with the simple move bd2, which is absolutely fine, although bit passive. Black just castles, and here white could have easily played the move knight e2. Game could have continued knight g2, bishop g4, f3, bishop e6, castle, qb6 check, king h1, rook d8. Black is trying to become active, but honestly speaking, still it's not worth the pawn. After knight a4, there will be more trade. After queen move to b7 or b5, b4, qb4, 3. We can see that white is absolutely fine. White can go with the plan of queen e1, trying to attack the queen and transfer his own queen to the king side. The main feature of the game is that white's play has to be very accurate, and white misplayed the position here. He went with the most logical move nf3. Knight occupies its natural square, it attacks e5, and now we see that the move e4 is also stopped because just knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d takes e4, d2 is well guarded. Black just goes re8. Idea is to go e4 at the right moment. Here white can choose between castle, queen e2 or maybe something like a3. But a3, as we can see, would allow instant bishop c3, e4, handing over the initiative to black. In the main game, white played castle. That is why we see that black is waiting with the c8 bishop and not putting it to g4 before white has castled. Because if bg4 is played instantly, let's say here, then white can use the idea ne4 when there will be nothing but trade of pieces. After knight e4, de4, bd2, qd2, bf3, gf3, black doesn't get enough for his pawn. After the move king e2, black has an interesting idea. Bishop takes c3, e4. Threat is EF and ED. Knight moves to E5, keeping the E file closed. ED3, queen takes D3, queen takes D3, C takes D3, knight D7. It looks as if white is in trouble, but see, black's development is also not much, and white is able to use the tactical idea. Castle, good move. The point is, after knight E5, there will be RE1 when F6 is met by F4. So black has to go with the move rook E5, bishop takes E5, knight takes E5, rook F1, F6, F4, knight G6. After rook E8, F7, rook E1, BB7. It's two pieces versus the rook after rook 8, B8, and we cannot say that white is worse. The rook is alone against bishop and knight, and there is one pawn on the queen side, which can give very good play to white. The game is almost level. White goes castle in the game, bg4. After castle, it's going to be very difficult for white to go h3, bh5, g4, because knight g4, hg, bg4 can be very dangerous for white. White goes re1, and now black plays a very useful move trying to improve his position. Rook moves to e6. Firstly, this move stops h3, bishop h5, g4 permanently. Now there is knight g4, hg4, bg4. When we see that it's game over, rook can either go to f6 or g6, giving black a winning position. White goes for the move ne4, knight takes e4. If bishop b4, then we see that after knight g5, black is on the top of his game. Multiple threats emerge. One is bf3, gf3, rook g6. Other is knight f3, gf, bh3. Idea rook g6. Black will be winning over here. After d takes e4, we see that bishop f3, gf, rook g6 would be winning for black. Also d2 is hanging. Rook takes e4, bishop takes f3, queen f3 allows bd2. So g takes f3, bishop takes d2, queen takes d2. Well, black has exchanged many pieces, but the white king side is compromised, and black transfers his pieces to the white king side. f5, good move, and here white blundered in the game. White had to move his rook on the 4th rank. Still, the position is not losing perhaps, but already the initiative is on the black side. After the move rook c4, game can continue with h4. Now the queen is heading to h4 and rook wants g6 or the h6 squares. Thus king h1 forced, queen h4, rook g1. Black can transfer his other rook now, rook f8 followed by rook f6 and rook g6. When we see that black is doing absolutely fine. After queen e2, rook f6, rook g2, queen h3, and now rook g6 is there. But still this was the best attempt. White can now play rook b4 and try for a draw in this position. Let's go back to the game and see what happened. White, we can say, couldn't handle the pressure in the game. He went with the move re2, when after queen h4, now we see things are very difficult. Black is threatening queen h3 and rook g6. So f4, queen g4 check. If king moves to h1, then queen f3 check, kg1, rook g6, king f1, queen h1 waits. So king f1 forced, rook g6, rook e1 forced, making place on the e2 square for the king. E takes f4. White has nothing against the move f3. So he himself went f3, queen h3 check, king e2, rook g2 check. The queen is lost, so white decides to resign over here. Thus we can say that black's compensation, although was not fully available, he had decent play, and studying such kind of struggle is very good for developing our game. I hope you will find this game useful and instructive. Thanks for your time.